I was brought up in a small village called Mynydd Cerrig. And for those of you who don't speak Welsh, if you translate that from Mynydd Cerrig, it's translated to English, it's the mountain of stone. That's pretty much what it is.
I come from a valley where the men are men and the sheep are nervous.
Right on top of the mountain, looking down on the Gwyndraeth Valley. Population of about 140 people in the village. And if you want to imagine what being brought up in Mynydd Cerrig was like in the 1970s, then go there now. Because nothing's changed. I was brought up by my mum and dad, which I believe to be in the right way, and I wouldn't want my upbringing to be any different to what it was. I was brought up, I guess, in an old-fashioned way, where your grandparents and your family around you, especially living in a small village with a lot of your family there, have a huge influence on your upbringing as well. So I went to the Gwyndraeth Grammar School, which is a very famous school, where Carwyn James, Barry John, Jonathan Davies, Gareth Davies, the current chairman of the Welsh Rugby Union, where they all went to, which Max Boyce wrote his song of the outset. Our factory was based on the Gwyndraeth Grammar School, and of course, a referee. I was bullied in school. Still don't know till this day why. And but bullying took the best part of 5-6 months. It had a huge influence on me in my education. And you feel a sense of ashamedness that it's your fault. You feel a sense of weakness that it's your fault. And that's why a lot of bullies don't speak out, particularly young people, young children. They don't speak out to it because they feel it's their own fault. It's a sign of weakness, a sign of an embarrassment in telling people. When it's not. To actually speak out and stand up is a sign of huge strength. And I wasn't speaking out about it, and it was affecting my life. It was affecting my education. I didn't want to go to school. I was lying to my mum and dad that I was ill when I wasn't ill, and pretending to be ill, and going to school and then mitching lessons. And life was hell. Coming to the end of the year, you had to make a decision of whether you stayed in the Gwyndraeth Grammar School or if you went to my Sir Orfa, the Welsh medium school. The bullying stopped by pure chance. My friends saw the bully picking at me one day. One of my mates just caught him one on the chin. Took me great pleasure in seeing him on his arse on the floor with tears in his eyes. Pretty much now you know what it's felt like for the last 5 months. I did think about sticking the boot in. I then decided these are my friends who stood up for me here, and they were going to the Welsh medium school in my Sir Orfa. So I made the decision there and then I'm going to go to my Sir Orfa school with them. And if I hadn't done that, my life would probably be very different now, because I wouldn't be refereeing probably. I wouldn't have had the opportunities I had in doing TV work and stuff when I was in school.
This is a refereeing started just by pure chance. I got chucked out of the history lesson. I was sitting next door to my best mate, Craig Bonnell. When you get accused of doing something as a kid in school, first thing you say, no, it wasn't me. So down the headmaster's room, he said, Nigel, you've been copying your best mate, Craig Bonnell. I said, no, I haven't. He said, you see, Nigel, third question, Craig's got, I don't know. And you've got, neither do I. And I got chucked out of class, down the gym when you get chucked out of class in school, and I started refereeing just by pure chance, by helping out, because I played rugby in school. I played for the first 15 in school. I actually played full back. In fact, my sports teacher once compared me to the great Welsh fullback, JPR Williams. He said, Nigel, compared to JPR Williams, you're fucking useless.
And when I was in school at 16 years of age, I had no ambition whatsoever becoming a referee, let alone an international referee. My ambition in my Sir Orfa school at 16 years of age was a simple one. All I ever wanted to do was to appear live on the Antiques Roadshow and just tell some lovely old lady, do you know how much that is worth, love? Fuck all. So I didn't do very well in school. I only passed 2 GCSEs, O-levels, history and drama, but I wanted to do A-levels. I wanted to stay in school. Now, can you imagine this happening today? This would never happen today, which is a shame in one sense. I went down to the office to get the rugby ball to go out in the yard to play rugby with my mates. And as I went down to the office to get the rugby ball, the headmaster said, oh, you better make the most of playing rugby today, boys, because we're going to have to close the school tomorrow. The caretaker's gone off ill. He's having a hernia operation. And I said as a joke, that's an easy enough job, I'll do it. So the following day, I go to the school, registration, Tarnoid goes, Nigel Owens to the headmaster's office, please. And I thought, oh shit, what have I done now? So I went to the headmaster's office and he said, I've been thinking what you said yesterday. It's a good idea, he said. If you want to do the caretaker's job, you can come in the morning, 6 o'clock, stoke the fires, make sure the water's boiling, open the doors, then continue with your education in the day. Paid week in hand then, brown envelope, cash every week, £130 take home. And after about 3 weeks of doing this job, I thought, bugger the education. When you get opportunities in life, people will always tell you, take those opportunities. It's very true, because it's much better to look back on your life in 40, 50 years' time and be able to say you had the opportunity, gave it your best, but wasn't quite good enough, than look back and say you didn't have the opportunity at all. 18, 19 years of age, I was starting to realize that I was different to what I thought I was supposed to be, going to be different to the way that I'd been brought up to be. And I wouldn't want my upbringing to be any different. You get a girlfriend, married, you get kids, you become grandparents, and the world keeps on evolving. I didn't know who I was. I was becoming somebody that was totally alien to me. I started to realize, well, why am I finding myself attracted to men? And this was not what was supposed to happen. And I was becoming somebody, in all honesty, I didn't want to be. I never met a gay person. I'd never seen a gay person. I never knew of a gay person. The only gay person at 18, 19 years of age or relate to being gay was some of the very, very camp characters that were on some of the television programs. And to me, knowing no different at the time, well, that's a gay person. That is not me. I was quite overweight at about 19 years of age. By finding myself attracted to a man, I think, well, no man is going to find me attractive if I'm going to be overweight. So I decided to lose some weight. I lost weight the wrong way. I became bulimic, stuffed myself with food, and then I'd rush to the toilet afterwards and make myself sick. And I went from about 16.5 stone down to 11.5 stone. And when you lose a lot of weight the wrong way like that, you look pale, you don't look healthy, and you lose a bit of your bubbliness and character with it as well. Suffering from depression and mental health issues in dealing who I was depressed, I was bulimic, and then I started going to the gym to try and put some weight on. And when I got to the gym, I started putting some weight on and training. I then started using steroids. So by the time I was 24 years of age, I was in a pretty bad place. I was dealing with my sexuality, fighting against who I was and who I was becoming, bulimic, and now hooked on steroids. And I thought, there's only one way out of this. If I get chemically castrated, it'll take away the sexual urges. So I went to the doctor, and obviously the answer to him was no, you can't, and things don't work like that. The only way out for me now was gone. I'm going to have to take my own life. I did something one night, something that I have to live with for the rest of my life, something that I will regret for the rest of my life. I left a note for my mum and dad, a couple of boxes of paracetamols and a bottle of whiskey, and because I worked on the farm, I had a shotgun in the house, and I left with a loaded shotgun as well. And I'll ever forgive myself for what I put my mum and dad through that night. But when they read that letter and probably thought they were never going to see their only child ever again, I'll never forgive myself for doing that. And after spending a couple of days in intensive care in hospital, I came around, and then my mum and dad were visiting family and friends. And then my mum came back one night. If you ever do anything like that again, take me and your dad with you, because we don't want to live our life without you. Because I sat up in bed and I cried, and I realized I need to grow up and I need to accept who I am. Only after accepting that there's a problem, or accepting who I was in my case, can you then move on to the next stage of doing something about it. You can't do anything to change things in your life unless you accept there's something that needs to be changed. I'm straighter than that one. Or I need to seek help, or I need to talk about it so I can overcome this problem, whatever it is. Am I going to continue to living my life a lie? What am I going to do with my refereeing? And one of the difficult reasons as well, because I was brought up in a small community where everybody knows everybody, it was a huge hindrance in me accepting who I was. I wouldn't have got through all those difficult times without the community pulling together and helping me and my family. Starting to referee some games on television, so I was becoming a bit more of a familiar face within Wales.
The most difficult player I ever had to referee was a lovely little Englishman who played for Leicester and England. Austin Healey would never suffer from piles because God made him a perfect arsehole. In Wales and England, quite a few years ago, we had the EDF Cup. So I was down to referee my first ever game live on television. And when you do something for the first time, I always find you get nervous, whatever it is for the first time. So Newport Gwent Dragons against Leicester Tigers. 10 minutes into the game, Austin Healey has got on my bloody nerves. Leicester now knock on, so I blow up, knock on Leicester, no advantage. So Austin Healey goes to me, he could see my blank look, expression on my face, and he goes, "Oi, whose put in is it?" Because of the Welsh team against an English team, I said our ball, which didn't go down very well. And ever since then, me and Austin Healey haven't really got on very well. In fact, it's got so bad, he's blocked me on Twitter.
Until you are able to be who you truly are, you can never, ever be happy in your life. And unless you are happy within your life and happy within yourself, you can ever, never excel at what you're doing. And I was not the best at what I could be at refereeing at that time. Because am I going to be able to continue my refereeing when people find out? Nobody should have to make the decision in being who you are or continuing in the sport, in my case, that I loved. And I thought, I'm going to have to make a choice. I'm going to have to decide either to live a lie and be who I am to continue my refereeing, or do I finish refereeing so I can be who I am? I done an international. I done Scotland Barbarians, and I did Japan, Ireland, my first test in Osaka. But I didn't referee them well. And then, after those internationals, came the autumn appointments for the internationals in the November window. I was the worst performer of the 16 international referees, and the referees manager, Paddy O'Brien, rang me up at the time and he said, "Look, so you were going to miss out on the game. I've blown it." And then 3 weeks later, he rang back and said, "There's another game come in. Argentina have arranged to play Samoa in Buenos Aires the first weekend of December outside the international window, so I'm appointing you to this game. You need to perform in this game or it'll probably be your last." Fine physically, but mentally I wasn't, because I can't see me performing any better when all this worry is going on around me. Not sleeping at night worrying about this. And I'm going to have to bite the bullet. I'm going to have to tell my mum and dad. I'm going to have to tell the Welsh Rugby Union. So then I went to see Robert Yemen, the referees manager at the time, and I said, "Look, I got something to tell you." Broke down crying, and I told him, and I said, "Am I going to have to finish refereeing?" And he said, "No, you're not," he said. "I'm going to support you as your manager." And then there was a huge, huge weight lifted off my shoulders. And I then went to Argentina, physically fit, mentally prepared. And I did something that game that I've done every single game since. Whether it's an under-12s game on a Sunday morning, the World Cup final, when I crossed the white to that touchline, I said to myself, "Don't fuck it up."